I want to talk about allostatic versus homeostatic, or homeostatic versus allostatic. Um, it's essentially your body's way of regulating itself. And some things are tightly regulated, like breathing, like oxygen. If you stop breathing for a minute or two, you're in trouble. That's what we call homeostasis. Homeostasis is the tightly regulated part of that equation. There's very many things that are very tightly regulated. Body temperature. You can go into a room that's hot, but your actual core body temperature changes very, very little, in a few little degrees up or down, and you're in absolute distress. And your body can do this, of course, if you have you get a fever because of a viral or bacterial infection. We all know about that. But that all illustrates homeostasis. And it's talking about very, very tightly regulated aspects of your body of your physiology. But it's not just your physiology. I want to talk about allostasis, your allostatic capacity or allostatic load. Now, allostasis is something where your body can have a wide girth of what it can handle. So an example would be food. You could not eat food for a week or two or a month, and it would suck, but you wouldn't die. You can't not breathe out air for 1 or 2 weeks, of course. Another example would be sleep. You can go without sleep for days, and it sucks, but you're alive. You can actually do that. That's a allostatic, regulated by allostatic. Now, stress is also regulated through allostasis, and it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing how your body interacts with stress over time, and so essentially you can build up stress for weeks, months, years, and it can come to a head, kind of maybe a more popular or a more it's almost it's all I don't think it's racist or anything, but it's kind of well known, or at least it's generally accepted, that people in Japan will kind of build up this allostatic load and then die. It's called work death. They die at work. They'll work 60 hours a week is normal, and they go up to 80, and they're sleeping in the office, and they stop sleeping, and they're only sleeping 3 hours a night. This kind of thing goes on for months to years, and people will die, literally just die. They created a word in Japanese for it called work death. It's in the medical literature. So if you want to know yourself and you want to understand yourself better on a physiological or a psychological level, understanding these tightly regulated homeostasis, right, and your more loosely, broadly regulated allostasis or allostatic load will help give you an idea of who you are and why is it if you get shitty sleep for a week or two, you just snap on your girlfriend or husband or wife or whatever, or why are you so short at work, or why does it bother you to get an email at work from your boss who you've received many emails from before. It's like, why is this, you react in a way that you don't normally react in. And it can be, and you kind of know, people have this sense. They kind of think, I'm kind of run down, or, there's different ways of putting it into words, and we talk about it in different ways, but we have a sense. We have an idea. You don't have to be that self-aware to know what your kind of allostatic load is. It's a little less clear on how to kind of reverse it, because it seems like once you get into the most strong and end stages of allostatic load, you can't, your coping mechanisms go down, which I mean, even though you take a vacation, you're on the beach, and you're just kind of nervous, or you can't unwind, or you need alcohol, or you need, like some sort of distraction. You can't go to sleep without like a podcast or the TV on. And it gets worse over time. It kind of snowballs. Sorry for the Canadian reference, but essentially, let's say your allostatic is very high, your allostatic load is high, you're not sleeping well, and you're working too much, and you're taking on stress, right? I'm just being general here. Then it's hard to sleep more. It's hard to sleep because going to sleep is hard because there's so much going on in your brain. And then so you play a movie next to your bed. You have your phone or computer, and you play a movie to kind of distract yourself from your thoughts, so you can kind of sleep, right? But then you have a light next to your face while you're sleeping, right? And this blue light affects your pituitary, affects your brain, right? And releases hormones to stay awake. This is relatively well understood now. So it gets worse, right? You're not sleeping as well. Or alcohol, for instance, you drink alcohol to kind of calm down, but then that disrupts your sleep as well. So even though alcohol helps you fall asleep, and it seems like you sleep longer, or regardless of how it occurs, your quality of sleep goes down dramatically with alcohol consumption. Your REM sleep, the actual good part, one of the important parts of sleep, they're all important, goes down with alcohol consumption. So these are common coping mechanisms, alcohol and distractions with light. These are really common to deal with allostatic load. And eventually there's a term, I shouldn't use too many terms. You paint yourself into a corner. So imagine you're in a room and you want to paint the floor, and you start at the door and you start painting at the door, and then you're painting and painting, and you keep backing up till you're in the corner, far from the door, and the floor is wet in front of you. Sorry for the silly analogy, but I think what I'm saying it may not be clear on how I'm saying it, but I think most people understand what I'm saying. They feel it. Simply because you're on YouTube, and so you speak English. These things in combination suggest there's a pretty good chance you have some sort of allostatic load, right? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for tuning in.